according to European real estate experts. Today, the most interesting option for investment in Europe is the reconstruction, modernization, or repair of buildings and premises. Finding an object in a bad condition, but in a good place, make improvements and sell for a much higher price. This is a successful investment strategy. For example, an apartment purchased in Vienna for 160,000 euros after repairs made in it is sold for 360,000 euros. Experienced investors hunt for such real estate, so it stays on the market for no more than 2 weeks. You need to look for these objects and be ready to quickly acquire them. Some objects are acquired for the purpose of reconstruction. For example, in Berlin, a 5-room apartment on the ground floor was divided into 5 separate objects, each of which has a bathroom. Investments amounted to about 1 million euros, 500,000 the cost of the apartment, and about the same amount was spent on reconstruction and cadastral registration. Up to 50% of income can be earned on the sale of individual objects. Today, according to experts, Europe is of little interest in terms of buying real estate and development projects under construction in the hope of making quick money. The increase in price as construction progresses is small, and sometimes not at all. In fact, the cost per square meter of a new building is growing at the pace of the general housing market. Some Eastern markets are now considered more attractive. One of these states is the United Arab Emirates, with great development prospects, impressive growth rates, and a good rental yield of 8%. Despite the pandemic, the country holds a grandiose exhibition, Expo 2020, receives about 6 million tourists a year, does without lockdowns, does not introduce QR codes, and does not limit the number of visitors to restaurants and hotels. The real estate market of the Emirate of Dubai is the most developed, and the largest number of development projects are being implemented here. It is more profitable to invest in the early stages of construction by choosing reliable developers. These are, as a rule, large developers such as Emaar, Dubai Properties, Nakheel. Any developer, as well as his project, can be checked on the website of the Dubai Land Department. Real estate and development projects can be purchased in installments. Payment is made during the entire period of construction, and in some cases even after its completion, within a few years after the delivery of the project. The down payment depends on a number of conditions. Usually it is 20% of the cost of housing. With the construction of a new residential complex, the cost per square meter increases, the infrastructure of the area improves, and its prestige increases. At the same time, the Dubai real estate market itself showed significant growth in 2021. The projects with access to private beaches, such as the Palm Jumeirah, Blue Waters, Emaar Beachfront, are growing in price the most here. Complexes of villas and townhouses, respectively, are very popular, and in price they grow faster than other real estate. For example, in the new popular area of Dubai Hills, the cost of a 3-bedroom townhouse starts from $760,000. A detached villa in the same area will cost $1,370,000. As for apartments, a studio in a residential area, for example, in Jumeirah Village Circle, can be found for $150,000. Investors with more modest budgets should consider development projects in Thailand. By the way, there are quite a few investors from the United Arab Emirates and Hong Kong here. Russians and Europeans invest in Thai real estate. Traditionally, American capital is present here. And recently, the Chinese market has been actively mastered by the Chinese. In this diverse country, the cost of a small 1-bedroom apartment starts from $70,000–$80,000, just like in the UAE. Local developers sell housing under construction in installments. There are several programs for investors. The standard scheme is as follows. The buyer pays 30% of the property value. The remaining 70% is paid in installments. The final payment is made at the stage of obtaining the keys. In some objects it ranges from 30% to 50%. You can resell the apartment at any stage of construction. Then the remaining 70% will be paid by the new owner. The seller will earn plus 10-15% to his investment in the project. If you wait until the delivery of the object, then you can earn more. For those investors who are not used to taking risks and would like to get by with minimal time costs, buyback programs are most suitable. They can be found both in European countries and in Thailand. In the latter, the investment will be lower. The minimum cost of a one-room apartment under buyback will cost $90,000. There are a number of developers in Pattaya and Phuket with whom you can conclude a contract from 3 to 10 years with a buyback at a price of 10-15% above the purchase price. Moreover, there are projects, when investing in which, in addition to buyback, a guaranteed income is provided for the entire period of the contract, which is 7-9% of the cost of the purchased apartment, approximately according to the same scheme. You can buy property in the UK, for example. A guest house in a tourist complex in Scotland costs £140,000, £150,000 during the construction phase. When the object is built, for such a house will pay £240,000. Investing in nursing homes is popular in the UK today. This is not a typical option for our investor. But in Europe this market is well developed. Here, too, a buyback is provided after the expiration of the period stipulated by the contract, from 5 to 25 years, depending on the term of the contract. The size of the increase in the cost of the room upon repurchase also varies. In 5 years, the investor will be paid 115% of the value of the object. In 25 years, 150%. The scheme consists in the fact that the investor acquires a room in a nursing home, transfers it to the management company, and receives 8% per annum of the value of the object every year. The buyer does not have the right to settle his relatives there or live independently. The maximum increase with minimal investment can be made by getting into the pre-launch sale of a property, the so-called pre-sale. This practice is well developed in Thailand and often implemented by local developers. The price of an apartment purchased at the pre-sale will be 50% lower than the final sale of the finished property. But, even without waiting for the completion of construction, a few months after the official start of sales, such real estate can be sold at 10-15% more expensive. The main thing in this case is to choose a reliable developer. If the company does not yet have completed projects and does not have a history in Thailand, then you need to ask if the developer has a certificate of ownership of the land, a building plan approved by the government seal, and an environmental impact assessment. The latter is quite difficult to obtain in Thailand, but the project will not take place without it. It should be noted that real estate is sold at minimum prices just at the stage of obtaining documentation. Therefore, the main selection criterion in this case is the reputation of the developer. At 30-50% below the market, you can buy hot sale housing. In Thailand, this is not uncommon. There is a fairly large percentage of investment property with foreign capital. Economic problems that occur in certain countries often require quick money. This forces the owners of profitable real estate to urgently sell it, while making a significant discount to the buyer. The minimum budget for such a purchase is $30,000, since these are mostly ready-made objects. A potential investor needs to have 100% payment for the cost of the apartment. You can resell such real estate quite quickly from 1 to 6 months, while receiving up to 50% of the income. In Thailand, you should also pay attention to land, the value of which is constantly growing. The supply on the land market is limited. There is little land, and the demand is quite large. Therefore, having bought a plot and waiting for its buyer, the land can be sold quite profitably. There is no single price policy in this segment. Everything is individual. The cost of a private building plot of 16 acres starts at $150,000. In the UK, private lending secured by real estate is quite common. A loan from an investor. In what cases does it work? If the homeowner urgently needs a certain amount of money, but there is no way to get it from the bank, he is looking for private lenders. Any natural person, including a foreigner, can act as such a creditor. For example, in London, a property owner needed an amount of £250,000 to pay off debts. He was willing to take the money at 20% per month, with the property valued at £700,000. A potential investor entered into a loan agreement through a law office secured by this property. In 3 months, he earned £50,000 and, due to the default of the debt, got the right to sell the mortgaged apartment, earning £150,000 in the process.